What happens when you don't get the results you want from your implants? Well, Trilogy Medical Centre is going to reshape Kim's chest with a new breast revision procedure that uses a mesh piece to hold her breasts in the perfect shape. Coming up today on The Younger You.
I'm on top of the world, now I'm living, and the good just gets better, keeps on giving. Not even close to the end, it's just beginning. Life is getting lighter while the days are getting brighter, yeah. And if it's good, I won't even worry anymore. Took all my cares, still can kick them all out the door. Go on and try, come and tell me what you're waiting for. Move and keep them going till your life is overflowing, yeah.
Welcome to The Younger You. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about a procedure called breast revision, and a new mesh piece that is being used to correct the shifting of breast implants. First of all, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Rubin, the surgeon who is performing this procedure. Welcome to the show, Dr. Rubin.
Thank you.
Okay, breast revision. Tell me what it is.
Sure. It's simply any female that has had breast implants before, there can be issues with the implants. The implants can get what we call encapsulated, or scar tissue can get really thick around the implant. A second issue is that the implant can shift, and this is one of the more common ones that we're using this mesh for, is where the implant is falling too far off to the side, too far down, or even too far towards the center.
Well, why is it shifting if it's done properly in the first place?
Well, a number of things.
Okay.
If the pocket is made too large, okay, the surgeon makes the pocket just a little bit too big, then the implant's shifting around a little bit. It's kind of like if you're wearing a size 12 shoe and you have a size 10 foot.
Got you.
Another issue is over time, especially in a really physically active patient, if the implant is under the muscle can tend to push the implant out a little bit, and that can cause further lateral displacement or shifting of the implant over.
Okay, now on our patient today, she had that issue, hasn't she? When we talk about the placement of the implant, doctors have been known to have two choices, under the muscle or above the muscle. Why is that? Explain to everyone at home.
There's a number of reasons to put it above versus below. One of the issues, above the muscle, we get more emphasis from the implant. The implant's job is to push out the breast tissue. So when it's above the muscle, it's pushing out the breast tissue more. We get a rounder, fuller looking breast. So it sits higher? You get a more rounded, fuller looking upper part of the breast. The downside is you get a lot more scar tissue forming around the implant. Putting the implant under the muscle, we tend to get greater longevity out of the implant, meaning that we get less scar tissue, we get less issues. But one thing that can happen, as we've been talking about, is that lateral displacement or pushing of the implant out to the side.
Okay. What does the scar tissue feel like for a woman? Everyone's sitting at home. Can they be examining themselves to feel if they have scar tissue?
Yeah, absolutely. Scar tissue, it can be very thin, very wispy, almost like tissue paper, or it can be very robust, very thick, and it can even start to cause rippling and wrinkling that you can feel and then eventually even start to see on the breast.
Dr. Rubin, I've never actually touched an implant before. These are silicone. These are the better ones to be using now, aren't they?
Yes.
As opposed to the saline.
Yep.
What was wrong with saline?
Saline, they have a much firmer feel. It's basically like almost an overinflated water balloon.
Because this doesn't feel overinflated.
No, it's not. It's a much more natural feel to the implant.
Yeah.
We tend to get less rippling and wrinkling around the edges of the implant with a silicone compared to a saline.
And how long are these lasting for?
So that's a little bit of a tricky question to answer.
I'm too scared to squeeze it. What happens if
You won't pop it.
At all?
At all.
Wow.
I guarantee you. But implants can last.
I'm too nervous.
Implants can last years and years and years. The newer, highly cohesive gel implants, what we call the gummy bear implants, their rupture rates are the lowest ones on the market. They're going to last much longer than the fourth generation silicone implants, which have been on the market for a while.
Let's talk about stage 2 of the procedure that we're doing today, and it's the mesh sling. What is the correct terminology of that?
Yeah, so we call it, the name of the mesh is called Siri mesh, and it's a newer mesh that's received FDA clearance. And it's made up of silk. So we've been using meshes for a long time, what we call meshes, and we've been using biologic meshes. We've been using human skin, pig skin, but now we have a much better mesh that is made of silk. And it becomes incorporated into the body, much like these biologics do as well. But it's much easier to work with. A lot of times we don't necessarily have to use drains, where we certainly do when we use the biologic meshes. Fascinating.
Well, I want to show you a few exercises you can do at home to strengthen your chest muscles. Take a look.
Standard chest press. You will start with dumbbell weights up in the air and take them down to about 90 degrees, and then back up. It's crucial to work your chest muscles, especially if you're thinking about getting implants or any cosmetic surgery. Incline chest press is a version of the chest press. This way works a lot of deep muscle fibers due to the angle. You will lift those weights until your arms are straight and then lowering them past 90 degrees to really break down the muscle fibers. To make it harder, do the same motion but slow it down. Make sure to keep your low back touching the mat and your core activated. With this, you will want to start with your recommended weight and about 3 sets of 20 reps. The dumbbell pec fly will target the pectoral area and the shoulder blades. Have your back touching the bench and your elbows will have a slight bend in them. To make it easier, you can have a bend in your elbows or, of course, grab lighter weights. To start off, you'll want to do about 15 reps of 3 sets.
Coming up next, Dr. Rubin and I will continue to talk about the breast revision procedure, and then we're going to meet our patient Kim.
Like us on Facebook for updates on the show and how to join the Younger You conversation.
Before the break, we talked about what the mesh sling actually is, or what they say, an internal bra. Let's chat a bit more with Dr. Rubin to learn more about this fascinating procedure. Dr. Rubin, if someone didn't have a breast implant, can they still have the mesh sling done?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're starting to expand the spectrum of use of the mesh. So we're using it in breast implants to hold the implant in place, but we're also starting to use it for what we call mastopexies or breast lifts to help hold the shape of the breast itself. Now we typically rely on the skin a fair amount, but we know what happens with skin. It stretches. This material, it doesn't stretch. It's very strong, very pliable, but doesn't stretch. So we can use it to help cone and shape the breast for a mastopexy or breast lift to help keep the longevity of the procedure.
I'm fascinated by this. You say it's made out of silk, quite pliable. Do you need to go in and have that replaced? Like we've talked about an implant maybe in 15, 20 years' time. Do you need to have the sling replaced?
You don't necessarily have to have the sling replaced, but if you have a lot of sag again, you know, if we do a lift, for example, then you may need a new piece put in. With the implants, it's going to create a new boundary of tissue to hold, like a bra holding the implant in place, again, which is 2 to 3 times the strength of normal tissue. So it's going to last a very, very long time.
So it's like having a sports bra or a push-up bra on. Is that the right sort of
it's an idea,
analogy?
Exactly. Yeah, to hold the implant in place. It doesn't replace an external bra.
No.
So if you're jogging, for example, doing something athletic, you'll probably want some support.
Okay.
But it's holding that implant in place so the implant can't move.
How often are people having this mesh sling put in nowadays?
Oh, we're using it more and more. It's FDA approved now as a new device. Before we were using older technologies where we're using biologics, they're called, where we're using pig skin or human skin. The problem with those is that they're a little bit more stretchy than the mesh. They're a little bit more difficult to work with. So I think this is going to really replace a lot of the use of those items for what we call implant malposition.
Okay, interesting question from a viewer. Are we getting better and better with our breast implants, and where do you see them going in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. Implant technology, just like anything else, computer technology, cars, etc., is constantly improving. We're coming up with better gels on the inside, a more durable shell. So implants are having less issues with rupture, and they're typically lasting a lot longer.
Fascinating information, Dr. Rubin. Let's head over to Trilogy Medical Centre to watch as Kim gets her breast revision procedure.
Morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So, big day today.
My name is Kim and I'm getting a breast augmentation with the additive of Siri Mesh.
So today what we're going to be doing is taking out that old saline implant. The implant has shifted over to the side and kind of fallen down because the pocket that it's sitting in is too big for the implant. So we're going to remove that old implant, put a brand new nice silicone implant in, which has a little bit more of a natural feel and a little bit better shape. And then we're going to create a sling with a piece of mesh. It's a special material that's designed to help hold the implant in place so the implant can't fall down anymore.
I want to get this procedure done because I had a breast augmentation about 12 years ago and they're starting to bottom out and separate laterally. So I just want to get them fixed.
So yeah, it'll be exciting, a big change for you. So the operation's a couple hours, it's done under general anesthesia. After you wake up, we put a bunch of numbing medicine around the breast, so when you wake up, you're very comfortable. Really just important to be taking it easy over the next couple weeks. There's still a lot of healing that needs to go on. So no big vigorous activity, no heavy lifting.
I'm going to go a little bit bigger with my implants because as time moves on, gravity works and my skin is stretched, and so I'm going to get implants that will fill my skin out.
We'll see you back within a day or so to check on you and make sure that things are going okay, and we'll go from there.
Perfect.
I've told my kids and they're mortified, and I told my mother, she's supportive, and all my friends are very supportive and can't wait to see the results.
So Kim came to us because she was unhappy with the appearance of her breasts. One of her biggest complaints was as she would lay flat, the implant would fall way off into her armpits, off to the side of her breast. She also didn't like the way it looked when she was standing up because it would do a similar thing, but not to the same degree as when she would lay flat. So she was just unhappy with the cosmetic appearance. They were old implants, saline implants, and she was looking to upgrade to a silicone implant, which has a more natural feel to the implant, and also to correct that displacement of the implant.
When I got my first procedure done, I knew I was going to have to come in again, but because they're only guaranteed for 10 years, and they said that after 10 years, you're going to have to do it again. But I was young and 22, and I'm thinking, crap, when I'm that old, I won't want to care what I look like, and now I do.
What we tell people is that they're not lifetime devices, that an implant hopefully will last you 10, 15, maybe 20 years, but within a lifetime, you'll have 1 or 2 revisions because of implant issues, implant failure, where the implant either ruptures, or implant malposition issues like Kim had, where the implant shifts into a position that's not very satisfactory from a cosmetic standpoint.
After the break, we'll continue to learn why Kim thought she needed a breast revision. Be sure to head over to theyounger.you.tv to stay up to date with all things Younger You.
The following footage contains surgical procedures. It may be too graphic for some viewers.
Let's find out from Kim what caused her to need a breast revision procedure and continue to watch as Dr. Rubin performs this procedure.
The main reason I care about what I look like right now is I feel like I'm still young. I think it will help my self-confidence. The problems that I'm having with them right now is they separate, and unless I have a very good push-up bra, it's very visible. It makes me feel horrible and embarrassed and very low self-esteem.
Yeah, it's truly the best operation for this problem. There are very few other options, and the other options have high recurrence rates. They have high failure rates. So from a patient standpoint, even though some of the other options may be a little bit less expensive in the long run, if you need 2 or 3 operations to fix the same problem, then you've not really saved any money in the long run. So the mesh does cost a little bit extra over the longevity of this operation. This should last her 15, 20 plus years with a new implant and with the mesh supporting the implant. So she'll have a beautiful shape for a long, long time. She's got what we call severe malposition of the implants, and the malposition just means they're in a bad position on the chest. They fall dramatically off to the sides. Ideally, the implant is supposed to be sitting here underneath the breast, which would create this kind of a look with her laying down, but as she lays down, the implant falls. There's about this much room in the pocket that's too big.
Right now, the implants that I have, they ripple horribly, and you can see them. And I don't want that. And with the new implants that they're putting in, along with the mesh, is going to diminish that almost completely.
And what every surgeon tries to do is create what we call a hand and glove fit. We want to create a pocket that's tailored to the size of the implant that we're using. But on occasion, the pocket can be a little bit bigger, and that can cause the implant to start to shift around a little bit. Over time, the implant with a lot of physical activity, the pec muscle, especially if it's underneath the muscle, can push the implant out a little bit, and that can create some extra room for the implant to start to move around.
When I got my first augmentation, I didn't do any research. I figured the doctors knew what they were doing. And the second time that I'm doing this now, I've gone to 8 different doctors, and I chose Trilogy Medical Center because they were so much in depth and told me exactly not what I wanted to hear, but exactly what was wrong with me and how they could fix it.
Implant manufacturers are coming out with newer implants. We have our 5th generation of implants now, which is a highly cohesive gel implant, which means it's the quote gummy bear implant. Thicker gel, thicker shell, so the implant rupture rate has gone way down. So from that standpoint, from a manufacturing standpoint, implant technology is continuing to evolve and improve, and we're hoping that we're going to get longer lifespan out of these implants, but that takes care of the rupture rate, but not necessarily the malposition rate, or the issue of the implant shifting around a little bit, or what we call capsular contracture, where the scar tissue gets tight around the implant, which can create shifting of the implant or a firm feel to the implant that people find unsatisfactory.
The lateral displacement started probably about 3 to 4 years ago. So, and at that point I'd had them for 8 to 9 years.
So we make a skin incision with a knife over her old scar, and we're going to extend it a little bit more, make it a little bit bigger.
When I first got my boobs, I had no idea that that would even potentially be a problem. I figured gravity works and that they'll sag, but I didn't think that they would push out to the sides. I've come to a point in my life to where when I'm naked in front of a mirror, I hurry and walk by it as fast as I possibly can, and if I am naked in bed with somebody else, I have the lights off.
Here's her old implant. So the 330 cc saline implant. So we sew the mesh in place. About 2/3 of it is sewn in place, both to the muscle and as well as the pec muscle, as well as the side of the chest. And then once we have a pretty good idea of where we have the mesh laying, then we bring the implant in, and we use something called a Keller funnel, which is a nice delivery device, so we don't have to sit there and manhandle the implant. We touch the implant very, very minimally, and we squeeze it in through this funnel, this device, which then prevents me from having to push really hard, which can fracture the shell and can decrease the lifespan of the implant.
I'm hoping that my augmentation doesn't separate like it did before, and I'm hoping that the Siri mesh that I'm getting holds them up in place longer than just the 10-year warranty.
So silk is a very common material that's used in surgery. We have stitches that we use that are silk. So like I said, silk is a very slow biodegradable substance, which is favorable because we want that sling to be there for quite a while as her body grows into it.
I'm excited to be able to wear a bikini and tank tops and not have to wear padded bras every day. I'm just excited that I will be able to look at myself in the mirror and smile again.
When we come back, it's time to see Kim's final results and find out if she's happy with her restored bosom. Before we find out if Kim's happy with her results, let's take a look at her before and after shots. All right, Kim, what do you think of your newly restored breasts?
So far, so good.
Don't be nervous, you're like a little mouse here. Don't be, we've just seen you have a procedure.
I know,
okay,
that's what makes it even worse.
Well, you agreed to it, let's get to the point.
I know.
Okay, your last implants were done 12 years ago, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep. Why did you personally feel that this was the right procedure for you?
I didn't like the way that I looked without a bra.
Okay.
So I wanted to fix what was broken.
Dr. Rubin, what type of implants did you put in this time?
Well, we upgraded to silicone implants, so a high-profile implant that's narrower, has a taller projection than her old saline implants.
What's the difference between the silicone and the saline?
The saline are simply filled with salt water. It's a silicone shell filled with salt water. The silicone are a silicone shell filled with a silicone gel.
Now, you did the sling. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
I think it's just an easy way to say it.
We call it a sling, an internal bra. There's a lot of different ways that you can
Why did you decide to do both procedures here?
So the old technique that we used to basically just use stitches to try and sew the side of the breast down to the chest wall.
Okay.
It doesn't work very well. It has a very high failure rate because you're sewing something that has very little substance down to the chest, and it just doesn't hold very well, especially in someone who's very active, does a lot of physical activity. The muscle, if the implant's under the muscle wants to push the implant out to the side.
That makes sense.
That's what happened to Kim. That's why she looked great in the bra, and then when you take the bra off or you lay down, and next thing you know, the implant's fallen way off to the side, and it creates a very unfavorable shape or look to the breast.
Well, your arm ends up like this. Joking.
But the beauty of the sling is now it's holding that implant where it's supposed to be. It centralizes the implant under the breast. The implant can't shift back over. And we get a really long, durable, lasting result.
Is this something that you would encourage most women to have?
So,
the sling part, that is.
Especially in revision breast work.
Okay.
So if someone's had a breast augmentation, they have what we call malposition or displacement of the implant. The implant isn't where we want it to be. It's too low, it's too far to the side. And even, believe it or not, it can go too far to the center. We get what's called symastia, or the common term is uniboob.
Yeah.
So it's a terrible look. So the only way to hold that implant there and make sure it stays there is to use a special material like this internal bra mesh.
And we talked about this in segment 1 of the show, but did you feel, and I don't want you to feel that I'm maybe putting words in your mouth, but did you feel less womanly by having your breasts that were coming to the sides, or less attractive?
Yes.
Is that the right wording for you?
Yes, I definitely did. And a big issue that I had with that is, have you ever seen a guy that works out a lot and has huge lats?
Yes.
I walked like this because my boobs were in my armpits.
Well, I was joking before when I said you're up.
I'm serious.
You were
It's
serious about that?
Horrible.
Well, what were you thinking? Was there anything?
That's why I wore a push-up bra.
Really?
Yeah.
And what was the push-up bra doing?
It
Holding
just
it all
brought them
together?
together. So they weren't
Interesting.
in my-
How often do you need to change this? And do you need to change it? The sling?
So this sling becomes incorporated into the body. The body actually grows into the mesh, and it becomes 2 to 3 times the strength of normal tissue. So it's going to last a very, very long time.
Okay. Viewer question. You ready for this one, Dr. Rubin?
Mm-hmm.
Does Kim need to wear a bra now?
Does Kim need to? Oh, that's up to Kim.
Because of the way we've talked about it, how it supports the breast implant and the breast itself, would people assume that you no longer need to wear a bra?
It's not designed in that way. I mean, it's designed really to hold the implant in place so the implant can't shift around in a pocket that's too big. But, you know, for running, jogging, doing more active things, I would assume that you'd want a little bit of support.
Do you need to replace the implants down the road?
Well, that's a great question. Implants aren't designed to last a lifetime. Kim is very young. She's already had, a major issue with her saline implants. The silicone implants that she has right now have the lowest rupture rate on the market. So they can fatigue over time. They can have long-term issues, but we're talking hopefully 15, 20, 25 or more years down the road.
Okay, I understand. When you hear that, are you like, you know what, it was worth every bit?
It was.
Yeah?
Yes.
What was the best part of having the procedure?
Feeling young again.
Yeah. A youthful,
Right.
more womanly feel about yourself.
More feminine,
I
definitely.
like that. I'm glad you've softened up. You're not nervous anymore. You're not our little Minnie Mouse. Thank you for coming in. And thank you for showing us the procedure that you had done. Dr. Rubin, thank you so much. Just think about where we will be with breast implants 10 years from now. Could you imagine? If you want to find out more about Trilogy Medical Centre or Dr. Rubin and, of course, the show, please visit our website at theyoungeryou.tv, and I'll see you next week. Coming up on The Younger You, we'll teach you about a procedure that will eliminate the extra skin and flab on those arms. The Younger You set provided by Madison McCord Interiors.